Hello everyone, welcome to my show. I'm the empath. This is my cat Gabe who decided to hop on my lap. And also, this is sponsor. This is my sweet tea. And today we have Babble. So yeah. My cat might be hopping up on my lap because he's a cat. And then every now and then I might take a drink, sponsor. Just because I need a drink, and it's sweet tea. The fact that it's from Burger King is just because I went there earlier today. But let's jump into things with Exodus chapter 16, the manna and the quails. The whole Israelite community set out from Elim, and on the 15th day of the second month after they had left Egypt, they came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. There in the desert they all complained to Moses and Aaron, and said to them, "We wish that the Lord had killed us in Egypt. There we could at least sit down and eat meat and as much other food as we wanted. But you have brought us out into this desert to starve us all to death." The Lord said to Moses, "Now I am going to cause food to rain down from the sky for all of you. The people must go out every day and gather enough for that day. In this way I can test them to find out if they will follow my instructions. On the 6th day they are to bring in twice as much as usual and prepare it." So Moses and Aaron said to all the Israelites, "This evening you will know that it was the Lord who brought you out of Egypt. In the morning you will see the dazzling light of the Lord's presence. He has heard your complaints against him. Yes, against him, because we are only carrying out his instructions." Then Moses said, "It is the Lord who will give you meat to eat in the evening, and as much bread as you want in the morning, because he has heard how much you have complained against him. When you complain against us, you are really complaining against the Lord." Moses said to Aaron, "Tell the whole community to come and stand before the Lord, because he has heard their complaints." As Aaron spoke to the whole community, they turned toward the desert, and suddenly the dazzling light of the Lord appeared in a cloud. The Lord said to Moses, "I have heard the complaints of the Israelites. Tell them that at twilight they will have meat to eat, and in the morning they will have all the bread they want. Then they will know that I, the Lord, am their God." In the evening a large flock of quails flew in, enough to cover the camp, and in the morning there was dew all around the camp. When the dew evaporated, there was something thin and flaky on the surface of the desert. It was as delicate as frost. When the Israelites saw it, they didn't know what it was, and asked each other, "What is it?" Moses said to them, "This is the food that the Lord has given you to eat. The Lord has commanded that each of you is to gather as much of it as he needs, 2 quarts for each member of his household." The Israelites did this, some gathering more, others less. When they measured it, those who gathered much did not have too much, and those who gathered less did not have too little. Each had gathered just what he needed. Moses said to them, "No one is to keep any of it for tomorrow." But some of them did not listen to Moses and saved part of it. The next morning it was full of worms and smelled rotten, and Moses was angry with them. Every morning each one gathered as much as he needed, and when the sun grew hot, what was left on the ground melted. On the 6th day they gathered twice as much food, 4 quarts for each person. All the leaders of the community came and told Moses about it, and he said to them, "The Lord has commanded that tomorrow is a holy day of rest, dedicated to him. Bake today what you want to bake, and boil what you want to boil. Whatever is left should be put aside and kept for tomorrow." As Moses had commanded, they kept what was left until the next day. It did not spoil or get worms in it. Moses said, "Eat this today, because today is the Sabbath, a day of rest dedicated to the Lord, and you will not find any food outside the camp. You must gather food for 6 days, but on the 7th day, the day of rest, there will be none." On the 7th day some of the people went out to gather food, but they did not find any. Then the Lord said to Moses, how much longer will you people refuse to obey my commands? Remember that I, the Lord, have given you a day of rest, and that is why on the 6th day I will give you enough food for 2 days. Everyone is to stay where he is on the 7th day and not leave his home." So the people did no work on the 7th day. That's very nice. Get at least a day off once a week. The people of Israel called the food manna. It was like a small white seed and tasted like thin cakes made with honey. Moses said, "The Lord has commanded us to save some manna, to be kept for our descendants, so that they can see the food which he gave us to eat in the desert when he brought us out of Egypt." Moses said to Aaron, "Take a jar, put 2 quarts of manna in it, and place it in the Lord's presence to be kept for our descendants." As the Lord had commanded Moses, Aaron put it in front of the covenant box, so that it could be kept. The Israelites ate manna for the next 40 years until they reached the land of Canaan, where they settled. The standard dry measure then in use equaled 20 quarts. Chapter 17. Water from the rock. The whole Israelite community left the desert of Sin, moving from one place to another at the command of the Lord. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water there to drink. They complained to Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses answered, "Why are you complaining? Why are you putting the Lord to the test?" But the people were very thirsty and continued to complain to Moses. They said, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt? To kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst?" Moses prayed earnestly to the Lord and said, "What can I do with these people? They are almost ready to stone me." The Lord said to Moses, "Take some of the leaders of Israel with you, and go on ahead of the people. Take along the stick with which you struck the Nile. I will stand before you on a rock on Mount Sinai." I've been pronouncing it wrong. I think it's supposed to be Sinai. "Strike the rock, and water will come out of it for the people to drink." Moses did so in the presence of the leaders of Israel. Yeah, so some of you, if you've read the Bible before, you've probably been mad at me about saying it's Sinai or something. Semantics. The place was named Massah and Meribah because the Israelites complained and put the Lord to the test when they asked, "Is the Lord with us or not?" War with the Amalekites. The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, "Pick out some men to go and fight the Amalekites tomorrow. I will stand on top of the hill holding the stick that God told me to carry." Joshua did as Moses commanded him and went out to fight the Amalekites, while Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his arms, the Israelites won. But when he put his arms down, the Amalekites started winning. When Moses' arms grew tired, Aaron and Hur brought a stone for him to sit on, while they stood beside him and held up his arms, holding them steady until the sun went down. In this way Joshua totally defeated the Amalekites. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Write an account of this victory, so that it will be remembered. Tell Joshua that I will completely destroy the Amalekites." Moses built an altar and named it, "The Lord is my banner." He said, "Hold high the banner of the Lord. The Lord will continue to fight against the Amalekites forever." Chapter 18. Jethro visits Moses. Moses' father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, heard about everything that God had done for Moses and the people of Israel when he led them out of Egypt. So he came to Moses, bringing with him Moses' wife Zipporah, who had been left behind, and Gershom and Eleazar, her 2 sons. Moses had said, "I have been a foreigner in a strange land," so he named one son Gershom. He also said, "The God of my father helped me and saved me from being killed by the king of Egypt," so he had named the other son Eleazar. There are several points in here where the Bible will repeat itself. It will say the same thing, numerous times. I might have given this spiel before, but it will say the same thing numerous times. And I think the reason why is because the author and or interpreter, because I don't know, either whoever wrote this particular stuff in the Bible, or whoever is the one who wrote this version which got published, decided to make special note and restate things which end up appearing later. I think, hold on, are there numbers? Yeah. I would have to presume, I would like to presume that based on what this is saying for the verses, because the verse number and all that tends to correlate between which version you're reading, whether it's King James or New Living Translation or whatever. I guess that whoever wrote this portion of the Bible decided that that was important. But yeah, so that's a thing. And it frustrates me too when I have to go over it, because I'm just like, I already read this. Why are you making me read it again? But then again, that's because it has importance. Honestly, in order to keep track of all of that stuff, you'd either need to have, I don't know, your brain would have to work that way, like maybe you have an eidetic memory, or you would have to take notes and be like, okay, they're making a specific note of this. Be like, huh, and then later on be like, why does that look familiar? Flip, flip, flip. Oh, that's why. And then you know all the significance. But I think part of the reason why it's like that is because they studied it more than we do today. So they make those kind of references because the kids will go through and they would read that, and then they would, like, they'd have to see or keep that sort of thing in mind, because then later on that sort of thing will appear. They look back and see the significance and all that stuff, and so it's kind of like whoever wrote the Bible, or these portions that repeat themselves and such. It's kind of like they did it as a way, like it's kind of a cheat sheet sort of thing, sort of thing in it, and they're like, hey, this is an important part. This is on the test. Can't escape school even if I try. Continuing, continuing. Jethro came with Moses' wife and her 2 sons into the desert where Moses was camped at the holy mountain. He had sent word to Moses that they were coming, so Moses went out to meet him, bowed before him, and kissed him. They asked about each other's health and then went into Moses' tent. Moses told Jethro everything that the Lord had done to the king and the people of Egypt in order to rescue the Israelites. He also told him about the hardships the people had faced on the way, and how the Lord had saved them. When Jethro heard all this, he was happy and said, "Praise the Lord who saved you from the king and the people of Egypt. Praise the Lord who saved his people from slavery. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all the gods, because he did this when the Egyptians treated Israelites with such contempt." Then Jethro brought an offering to be burned whole and other sacrifices to be offered to God. And Aaron and all the leaders of Israel went with him to eat the sacred meat as an act of worship. The appointment of judges. The next day Moses was settling disputes among the people, and he was kept busy from morning till night. When Jethro saw everything that Moses had to do, he asked, "What is all this that you are doing for the people? Why are you doing this all alone, with people standing here from morning till night to consult you?" Moses answered, "I must do this, because the people will come to me to learn God's will. When 2 people have a dispute, they come to me, and I decide which one of them is right, and I tell them God's commands and laws." Then Jethro said, "You are not doing this right. You will wear yourself out to these people as well. This is too much for you to do alone. Now let me give you some good advice, and God will be with you. It is right for you to represent the people before God and bring their disputes to him. You should teach them God's commands, and explain to them how they should live and what they should do. But in addition, you should choose some capable men and appoint them as leaders of the people, leaders of thousands, hundreds, 50s, and 10s. They must be God-fearing men, who can be trusted and who cannot be bribed. Let them serve as judges for the people on a permanent basis. They can bring all the difficult cases to you, but they themselves can decide all the smaller disputes. They will make it easier for you as they share your burden. If you do this, as God commands, you will not wear yourself out, and all these people can go home and with their disputes settled." By the way, fun little fact, side note thing. The only thing that makes somebody wrong in an argument between 2 people is a third person. Now there are technicalities with that, but just mull that sort of thought over. Someone said that at Scare Squad, and my mind meddled with it a bit. Anyway, Moses took Jethro's advice and chose capable men from among all the Israelites. He appointed them as leaders of thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. They served as judges for the people on a permanent basis, bringing the difficult cases to Moses but deciding the smaller disputes themselves. Then Moses said goodbye to Jethro, and Jethro went back home. Chapter 19. The Israelites of Mount Sinai. The people of Israel left Rephidim, and on the first day of the third month after they had left Egypt, they came to the desert of Sinai. There they set up camp at the foot of Mount Sinai, and Moses went up the mountain to meet with God. The Lord called to him from the mountain and told him to say to the Israelites, Jacob's descendants, You saw what I, the Lord, did to the Egyptians, and how I carried you as an eagle carries her young on her wings, and brought you here to me. Now if you will obey me and keep my covenant, you will be my own people. The whole earth is mine, but you will be my chosen people, a people dedicated to me alone, and you will serve me as priests. So Moses went down and called the leaders of the people together, and told them everything that the Lord had commanded him. Then all the people answered together, We will do everything that the Lord has said. And Moses reported this to the Lord. The Lord said to Moses, I will come to you in a thick cloud, so that the people will hear me speaking with you and will believe you from now on. Moses told the Lord what the people had answered. The Lord had said to him, Go to the people and tell them to spend today and tomorrow purifying themselves for worship. They must wash their clothes and be ready for the day after tomorrow. On that day I will come down on Mount Sinai, where all the people can see me. Mark a boundary around the mountain that the people must not cross, and tell them not to go up the mountain or even get near it. If anyone sets foot on it, he is to be put to death. He must either be stoned or shot with arrows, without anyone touching him. This applies to both men and animals. They must be put to death. But when the trumpet is blown, then the people are to go up to the mountain. Then Moses came down the mountain and told the people to get ready for the worship. So they washed their clothes, and Moses told them, Be ready by day after tomorrow, and don't have sexual intercourse in the meantime. That sucks. On the morning of the third day there was thunder and lightning. A thick cloud appeared on the mountain, and a very loud trumpet blast was heard. All the people in the camp trembled with fear. Can we just pause to take a moment that God is coming down to just chill with his people? How freaking cool is that? God is coming down to chill with you. Imagine all of a sudden you're going along, you hear bang, crash, boom, fog, smoke, thunder, lightning, and you see coming down, you see God. And he's just like, hello. How freaking cool is that? But then, later on, the Israelites do stupid stuff. I'm just gonna keep reading. Let's see. Picking up. Moses led them out of the camp to meet God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. All of Mount Sinai was covered with smoke because the Lord had come down on it in fire. The smoke went up like the smoke of a furnace, and all the people trembled violently. The sound of the trumpet became louder and louder. Moses spoke, and God answered him with thunder. The Lord came down on the top of Mount Sinai and called Moses to the top of the mountain. Moses went up, and the Lord said to him, Go down and warn the people not to cross the boundary to come and look at me. If they do, many of them will die. Even the priests who come near me must purify themselves, or I will punish them. Again, God's chilling with his people. Moses said to the Lord, The people cannot come up, because you commanded us to consider the mountain sacred and to mark a boundary around it. The Lord replied, Go down and bring Aaron back with you. But the priests and the people must not cross the boundary to come up to me, or I will punish them. Moses then went down to the people and told them what the Lord had said. I'm still geeking out about that. I read this before, and when I read it before, it's just like, okay, so, God came down the mountain, yeah. And that's a part of how I take things. I either take it like, huh, okay then, or I take it like, yeah, that's just how it goes. But actually looking at it properly and reading it out loud, God's coming down and chilling with his people. That's like if I just went and started playing like Minecraft or something like that with Jesus. Anyway. That's my cat stepping on a dog toy. Anyway, normally I'd end it here, but I really have been liking what I've been doing the past couple episodes, which is doing, if not episodes, whatever. But doing 5 chapters at a time. So I'll do chapter 20 and then call it done. So, chapter 20, the 10 Commandments. Everyone knows those, or they should. Do you know them? Do you know the 10 Commandments? Got thirsty. God spoke, and these were his words. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, where you were slaves. Worship no God but me. Do not make for yourselves images of anything in heaven or on earth, or in the water under the earth. Do not bow down to any idol or worship it, because I am the Lord your God, and I tolerate no rivals. I bring punishment on those who hate me, and on their descendants down to the 3rd and 4th generation. But I show my love to thousands of generations of those who love me and obey my laws. Alright, so I'm going to go along and, if it complicates stuff, I'll explain it. So, first commandment, he is the Lord, he is God. So the first commandment is like a declaration. I am God. That's the first commandment. Not too difficult. Second commandment, worship no God but me. So, simple. I'm sorry that I'm shaking the camera. And then again, I'd also like to apologize if it's still doing the little wobbly thing that I saw it doing when I checked stuff out on the computer. If it's still doing that, I'm sorry. I don't know how to fix that. Anyway, so yeah, don't worship any other gods. Again, I said a little bit back about, I believe that it's possible there could be other gods, and that, God kind of presides over them sort of deal, but you shouldn't worship him, not all the other ones, if there are other ones. And the fact that he says, I don't know. And then the third commandment is summed up, don't worship idols. Don't make statues and worship those. You don't worship the cross, you worship Jesus. The cross is just a symbol of, him dying for our sins and stuff. If you're worshiping the cross itself, then you got a problem, especially since the crucifixion is a very painful way of dying. It's a punishment. It's the death sentence. Anyway. Do not use my name for evil purposes, for I, the Lord your God, will punish anyone who misuses my name. We know this as, don't take the Lord's name in vain. But it explains it better, because don't use it for evil purposes. So don't be like, God damn that guy at the grocery. Well, you're saying that God should damn him. It's not a good thing to say. So, yeah. Anyway, observe the Sabbath and keep it holy. You have 6 days in which to do your work, but the 7th day is a day of rest dedicated to me. On that day no one is to work, neither you, your children, your slaves, your animals, nor the foreigners who live in your country. In 6 days I, the Lord, made the earth, the sky, the seas, and everything in them. but on the seventh day I rested. That is why I, the Lord, blessed the Sabbath and made it holy. So that one's talking about, Sabbath. The Sabbath day is holy. So don't work that day. Use that day to worship the Lord. We don't honor that one. God basically said, everyone take a day off. So if we really honored that, what we should all do, what we should all be doing, is we do whatever prep kind of stuff we need, like buy groceries the day before, do all that stuff on Saturday, and then we can all just chill with our families on Sunday. Note to self: when I have my own future stuff set up, I'm going to talk to future me in case I look back and see this. Future me, when you got your job stuff and you're sorting things out for yourself, and by the way, everyone else feel free to take this as advice as well. Try to arrange it so that you and your family and such don't work Sunday. You do all the prep stuff you need for Sunday the day beforehand. Make sure you have everything you need. And you take that day to chill. To just relax. To the fullest. Aside from, some chores around the house and stuff. But that's... I wouldn't imagine that would be a problem. But whatever. Anyway. Try and make it so you relax as much as possible on Sunday. Anyway. I'm doing a number of sidetracks. I'm sorry if that bothers anybody. Anyway, continuing. Respect your father and your mother so that you may live a long time in the land that I am giving you. Simple. Respect your mom and dad. It shouldn't be that difficult. Of course, there's later a corollary, I'll just say it now. There's later a corollary to that for moms and dads, and that's it says don't drive your children to wrath. So, kids, respect your parents, and if you have a decent relationship with your parents, then you already do. At the same time, there are parents who they don't treat their kids well, like parents who are abusive and stuff like that. They're driving their children to wrath. So some kids be like, well, I can't respect my dad because he's an alcoholic and he's a abusive drunk sort of deal. Well, yeah, he's driving you to wrath. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try to respect him, but at the same time, he's not earning your respect. So, yeah. Continuing. Oh yeah, and then it gets simple. Do not commit murder. Do not commit adultery. Do not steal. Simple. Those are simple things. I'm going to keep reading, and then I'm going to, when I finish I'll finish this chapter, and then I'll go over just how my little rant about the 10 Commandments. Anyway, do not accuse anyone falsely. Do not desire another man's house. Do not desire his wife, his slaves, his cattle, his donkeys, or anything else that he owns. The people's fear. When the people heard the thunder and the trumpet blast and saw the lightning and the smoking mountain, they trembled with fear and stood a long way off. They said to Moses, if you speak to us, we will listen. But we are afraid that if God speaks to us, we will die. Moses replied, don't be afraid. God has only come to test you and make you keep on obeying him, so that you will not sin. But the people continued to stand a long way off, and only Moses went near the dark cloud where God was. Laws about altars. The Lord commanded Moses to tell the Israelites, you have seen how I, the Lord, have spoken to you from heaven. Do not make for yourselves gods of silver or gold to be worshipped in addition to me. Make an altar of earth for me, and on it sacrifice your sheep and your cattle as offerings to be completely burnt, and as fellowship offerings. In every place that I set aside for you to worship me, I will come to you and bless you. If you make an altar of stone for me, do not build it out of cut stones, because when you use a chisel on stones, you make them unfit for my use. Do not build an altar for me with steps leading up to it. If you do, you will expose yourselves as you go up the steps. I don't get the laws about altars thing. Well, okay, so it's talking about, how to sacrifice. Okay, it kind of reiterates, don't make idols, don't worship other gods before me. And it also says, make sacrifices to me, God. Um, make the altar out of natural stones, not like cut or chiseled stones. And that makes sense. Natural stuff, not things that you made all pretty and fancy for God, sort of deal. And then, do not build an altar for me with steps leading up to it. If you do, you will expose yourselves as you go up the steps. I don't get that. I don't know, maybe someone can explain that to me or something like that. But the laws about altars thing, that predates the whole, Jesus, and there are a number of things, like I've said before, that Jesus overturns when he came. Yeah, so that's the end of chapter 20. But going back over the Ten Commandments, look how simple God's basic 10 commandments for us are. I am God. Don't worship any other God. Don't make any idols. Do not use my name for evil. Keep the Sabbath day a holy day. Don't work, rest, and worship the Lord. That was all part of number 5. Number 5. Respect your mom and dad. Corollary, parents, don't drive your children to wrath. Don't murder. Don't commit adultery, which I think that could amount to adultery. What is considered adultery? I'll have to look up the definition later. I knew, like, it just is escaping me at the moment. I think that's sleeping with someone else's wife or something like that, or I don't know, but y'all know what it is. Don't steal, and don't desire another man's house, wife, slaves, cattle, donkeys, or anything else that he owns. And what you have to keep in mind with that is that women were considered possessions at that point. So that's why it might seem... Okay, yeah, that's why I got confused. It might seem redundant when it says, do not commit adultery, and it also says, do not desire another man's wife. Because it was, again, women were considered possessions. So it was summing them all up as possessions. So don't think, man, that guy has nice stuff. I wish I had his stuff. No. If you're thinking, if you walk into someone's house and you see they have, a ball and computer and a huge TV, don't think, man, I wish I had a TV like that. If anything, think like, oh, hey, that's a nice idea. Maybe I should get a TV like that. Don't be all, I wish I had his stuff. Moan, groan, mumble, blah. No. If you think, yeah, that's a good idea, that's something I'd want, great. Work to get it. But don't be jealous. Jealousy isn't a good thing. I don't see jealousy as ever really being good. It just makes you unhappy. If anything, take that jealousy and turn it into a goal. A good goal, not like, I'm going to split these people up so that I can be Miss Dusty Yo-Yo Girl. No. I got sidetracked from my sidetrack. the Ten Commandments are really simple. The first, what is it? The first four. The first four basically say, I am God, worship me, nothing else. That is the first four commandments in one tidy little sum. And you can even rope the fifth one in and just adding, keep the Sabbath day holy and rest and worship me. Really simple. So God said, I'm God, worship me, nothing else. Take a day to rest and to worship me. He's telling you to take a day off. The only bad part is about, not bad. The only part that's, at all cumbersome to anyone is, also take the day to worship God. But, that's not a bad thing. I mean, he's telling you take a day off. You're being told by the God of the universe to take a day off. Is that a bad thing? No, it's not. And then there's respect your parents. They gave you life, they raised you, they give you food, they give, as long as they're being good parents. And honestly, the way that I see it, respect your father and your mother. At the same time, mother and father, with the whole, don't drive your children to wrath. If you want to be considered their mother and father, that's a title you have to earn. The whole being, I don't know, it's said in different ways, like, anyone can be a dad, but it takes a real man to be a father, sort of deal. Whatever you want to say. I'm just going to go off of mother and father being the titles you have to earn. Anyone can be a mom, be just getting pregnant, give birth. Anyone could be a dad, get a girl pregnant, and she gives birth. Anyone can be a mom. Any girl can be a mom, any boy can be a dad. You have to put in the time and the effort and the energy, the love and compassion into being a mother and a father. And again, I'm just going off of the Bible's word and saying that those are this is my belief. I'm just using the mother and father words. Those are what I'm over explaining. Anyway, point is, the way that I interpret that is, if your parents are being good parents, you should respect them. They have earned that. They have every right to be respected by you. God even says so. Now, if they have screwed you over your entire life, and actually looking back and thinking about it, if they've screwed you over your entire life, like they were drunk, they were abusive, they were slave drivers, they did nothing but make you miserable, any joy that they brought you was only to rip it away and make you miserable, and they laughed at your pain, sort of deal, then they're not your mother and father. They have not earned that. So, that's how I would choose to look at it. But again, simple. Don't murder. Duh. Don't steal. Duh. Don't commit adultery. Duh. Don't accuse anyone falsely. And part of that, you could also just say, don't lie. Duh. And don't be jealous. How simple is that? How ridiculously simple is it to follow God's 10 Commandments? Worship God. Rest on the Sabbath day and worship God. Respect your parents. Don't murder. Don't adulter. Don't steal. Don't lie. Don't be jealous. How ridiculously simple is that? Now, I can understand that the lying and jealousy part are what most people, I would say, struggle with. Um, as as far as Christians go. I can't even say that because there's so many bad Christians. I would say any good Christian, even good Christians, what they struggle with would be the lying and jealousy. Jealousy is just a matter of the mind. It's not that big of a deal. Just don't be all, hey, I want their stuff. I'm upset because they have it so much better than I do. Think about a way that turn that into a goal. If you want the sort of, if you want the sort of stuff that they have, like if someone's got they always have the latest games, always have the latest systems. Don't be all like, oh, I wish I could always have the latest games, latest systems. Work towards it. Get a job, or get a better paying job, or get a second job, and then work towards being able to have the money there, so when the latest game, when the latest system comes out, you can get it. And then, bam. You don't need to be jealous of them. Because that's some... So basically, instead of looking at a situation as, I wish I could have that, I wish I could have what they have, look at the situation as, I really like that about their lifestyle. I would like to try to accomplish that for myself. Jealousy is all a mindset thing. The lying thing, trust me, and I really wish people could learn this as down in their minds as I have. Lying doesn't bring you any good, or what good it brings is temporary, and in many cases not worth it. You get caught, get wrapped up in the lies. Brings about a whole bunch of trouble. Why bother? Wouldn't it be better to tell the truth, and instead of lying about something so that you don't get in trouble, don't do the thing that you know you're going to get in trouble for? Now, if you're wanting to do stories, fantasy writing, that sort of thing, fine. I don't consider that lying. I consider that in a whole separate category. So, you can make stories and all of that sort of thing. It doesn't have to be like in The Invention of Lying, where everything's dull and blah blah blah. But don't lie. If your girlfriend asks you, do these pants make my butt look fat? If you want to, give your honest opinion. I would say try to make it a nice one. And, if they do make her look fat, be like, you could say something along the lines of, yeah, they kind of do. I actually think you look really good in these pants. Then you've turned it around. Then instead of focusing on the, oh, these don't look good on you, you switch around to, these do look good on you. And then they're thinking more about these look good on them as opposed to these don't. Simple. Or if a girl, if a girl is pregnant and she asks, am I fat? And, she's looking a little bloated. if you're wanting to be as bluntly honest, then be like, well, you don't even have to say she's fat. You can say, no, you're not fat. It's all the pregnancy, honey. Or you don't even have to say that. Be like, honey, don't worry about it. You're beautiful. So even these things that guys would bring up about these traps that women set and all that, you don't have to be a dick about it. You can tell the truth without being a dick. And women, if you don't want to hear that kind of truth, don't ask us those questions. Because you're either going to get an answer that you're just going to be like, oh, you're just saying that, you don't mean it, blah, 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 and you're not going to believe us. Or you're going to hear us say something that you don't want to hear us say. So if you don't want us to be, if you don't want to believe us when we say something nice, and if you don't want to hear it when we say something that is blunt and maybe a bit cruel, just because it's blunt truth, then don't ask. Simple as that. But yeah, I have rambled on long enough. I'm sorry that I haven't been making videos for the past few days. I'm just still trying to get myself straightened out. But yeah, I am trying at least. So yeah. But yeah, thanks for watching. Like and favorite if you enjoyed. Subscribe to become a VIP today. I will see you all, sponsor, next time. Have a great day.